when I think about stuff, I want to think about it quickly. Is this worth spending time? You want to make a difference between shiny object syndrome and things you want to do, but then just take action. Point is, I like to just start things. Now, it's not being impulsive. You got to watch from shiny object syndrome also. You want to think it through and commit. And if it's something you want to commit, then just start. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Eat, Sleep, and Invest. I'm your host, Brian Driscoll. Today, I want to talk about one of the hacks that I use that I attribute some of my success to, or at least a lot of it. So what we're going to talk about today is doing stuff. So I know everyone's like, yeah, whatever. So I work with a lot of investors. I work with a lot of people just in general, right? And I notice things, and I notice even things with myself, which I'll tell you a story here in a little bit, on how I do things and how I'm able to accomplish so much with the same 24 hours in everybody's day. So what I've seen is there's a lot of people, and everybody, and not talking bad or good about any of these different types that we're talking about today, everyone's just different. And these are just things that I've observed, right? But I've noticed that a lot of people, a lot of my friends, more like personal friends in life, try hard, they take action to do things, but they never get successful, right? So for example, one of my friends, they take a lot of real estate courses, things like that. They know how to do real estate, but they're just in their head. It's like, okay, I know how to do it now, but I got to figure out how to do financing before I can really get going. And I got to figure out how to do title before I can really get going versus just go find a property and then try to figure it out. Like, you still have to know what you're doing. But a lot of people, I see them it's like almost like a rat race in your head that you're just constantly cycling over and over. It's like, okay, I want to do it, but I don't feel like I'm ready yet. I don't know if it's confidence or whatever, but it's like, I just got to keep going, right? And then I see some people that they get into it, but they don't follow through. It's like, okay, I'm into it, and then I'm just not finishing it, right? So they just have a whole bunch of pending things. But what I want to talk about today is how I do things, and maybe it can help you guys. So I'm a little bit different. I'm more the guy that jumps in. I jump out of an airplane, and I'm trying to build the parachute on the way down. I just did it, right? So I do think things through whenever I do it, but I act pretty quickly. Here's an example I'm going to give you. This is a personal example, right? Not even a business, but it's a good one. So 2 months ago, my kids come to me. They're like, hey, Dad, we want to build a tree house. So I have 3 sons. They're 11, 9, and 8. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, let's do it. Not even thinking like, okay, we'll build a tree house. And I'm sitting there thinking after, I'm like, how the heck do you build a tree house? Like, I have rental properties and things, but I don't do the contracting on them. I haven't lifted a hammer for like 10 years. So I'm like, okay, we're going to do it. But I committed, right? And I have no clue how to do it. So first thing I do, this is one of the attributes that I think my success comes from, is I'll start doing things and I figure it out on the way, even if they're stupid. So I'm like, hey, kids, let's go to Home Depot. We're going to go check this out and we're going to map this thing out. So any contractors listen, you're going to know what I'm talking about here, because this is ridiculous if you saw this. So we got to Home Depot and I'm like, well, how high do we want to make this thing? Like 6, 7 feet? It's like, okay, cool. We grabbed 7-foot tall pieces of wood, like little pieces of wood. They're like 7 foot tall. And it looks like something you'd hold your plants up with. It's like inch by half an inch or something. And I'm like, okay, let's take these home. They're 7 feet tall. Let's go up. We get on a ladder. We're hammering them into the ground. Then I'm tying a string around the top of them. Like, all right, cool. We see what we got here. I'm like, this doesn't look right. But we're doing it. Like, we took the first step, okay? So I sent a picture over to my buddy who's a contractor. He's like, dude, what are you doing? He ended up showing me. He's like, hey, if you want to map it off, you put stakes in the ground. You put string around that on the ground and you map it out, and then you go vertical, right? So we started doing this. So then we map it out. And one thing that I found really helps me also is knowing people that know how to do stuff. So I don't necessarily have to know. I don't know half of the stuff I do, but people around me know how to do it. So in this case, my buddy Joe and Steve, they're both contractors. I hit them up. I'm like, hey, dudes, what do you guys think? And they give me perspective from their point of view being in the business. So I think it's really important, number one, taking action. But then also, number two, surround yourself with people. You don't have to know everything. You just have to know people that know everything. So I call them up. My buddy Joe's like, hey, if you're looking to do a tree house, he's like, there's this dude Nelson on TV too. He builds tree houses. Check it out. So I checked that out, and they actually sell these bolts that go into trees and hold your tree house up. So we got that. We're rocking and rolling. So next thing is we got it mapped out on the ground with the strings. And I'm like, okay, we got to dig holes. And for some reason in my head, I normally don't do any of this stuff myself. But being that I told the kids we were building a treehouse, I was feeling like I had to do everything. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to take off work tomorrow. I'm going to dig these holes 40 inches deep, 24 inches wide. We got to dig 6 of them, and it's going to suck. So I go out, I start digging. It's hot, like middle of summer. This is like a month ago. And I'm digging. I'm like, dude, this freaking sucks. And my buddy Dustin called me up. He's like, hey, what are you doing? I said, I'm digging holes. I'm doing this. He's like, what are you doing? It's like, get someone to do that for you. And so in my brain, I had to process. It's like, okay, I can make a couple $100 an hour at my job, or I can pay someone else to come out here and do this for, I don't know, $30 an hour. So what I did is I put on Facebook a post. It's like, hey, I'm looking for someone to come out here and dig holes. Next day, I had a guy come out digging all the holes. It cost me $250 for the whole day. 6 holes. It would have taken me probably 2 days to dig those, which would suck. So there's another thing I look at too. It's like, okay, everything I'm doing, can I stay in my lane and do what I'm the only one that can do it versus other people? Can I have other people do stuff for less money than it would cost me, right? So I'm always looking at that kind of stuff. In this situation, I didn't to start just because I had a headspace. I'm like, hey, we got to do everything ourselves. But anyways, back to the story. Just hire that stuff out if you can. So we got the holes dug. I'm like, okay, I got to order some wood. So we map it out. It's mapped out on the paper. We tally up how much wood we got to get. And it's like, okay, cool. I call the place. They deliver it a couple days, put it on my driveway. I don't even know how we're building this thing really yet. I just know the next step. It's like the next step we have here is wood. We need to get all the wood we need. So we did, to complete that step, I had to map out, hey, what's it going to look like? And what we did is we mapped out the platform and the legs. So we get back there, and I live on, I'm going to call it a 2-story yard. So we got the front yard and then the backyard. It's like half of an acre, whole straight way back. So it's long. So we got all this wood, and I'm like, oh man, I got to carry all this stuff. So this sucks. So we're carrying all the wood back. We pile it up, and then we're getting ready to go to the next stage, right? So what we did is we had this bit that we got from this Nelson guy that does the tree houses. And what it is you drill into the tree, and then you screw this thing in there. So I had the perfect tree sitting there, not being a tree guy. By the way, if you're going to ever do a tree house, get a tree guy to check out the tree. So we drill into this tree, and it's hollow. Oh man, what are you talking about? This freaking sucks. So like literally hollow. So we have to pivot real quick. We're like, okay, hey, we're and this is the day we were putting in building the foundation. It's like, okay, we got to pivot. So we pivoted, moved locations. But in this process, like I found out there's a bunch of trees in my backyard that had ants in them, and it cost an extra like 10 G's to get these things cut down. It sucked. But we're moving. Like we're moving in a positive direction. And the reason I'm talking about this too is that if I were to think about all these scenarios before I started building this tree house, I would still be mapping out. It's like, okay, well, maybe we just need to get the trees down. Maybe we need to do this. Maybe we do that. I just deal with it when it pops up. So we go down, cut all the trees out, right? $10,000. Now, keep in mind, the whole purpose, I'm trying to build this tree house. I want the kids to feel some pain. Like, I want them to feel the pain of lifting wood, screwing stuff in. I want them to know how stuff happens, because most of my kids, they might be like yours too. They sit around, play tablets. They got an easy life. It's like, I want them to know, hey, we want to build a tree house. Here's what it takes. We don't just pay someone to do it, which you can, but you need to know what kind of work goes into that also. So this whole time, they haven't even lifted a finger because this stuff's heavy. Like, they can't carry wood like 2x6s to the backyard. It's too heavy. Their oldest is 11. And after I get the holes dug, I call up my buddy Steve and Joe again. I'm like, hey guys, can you come help me? We get the foundation built. We hold them up. Everything's level. We're good to go. So now we're starting to see progress. And the next phase here is we need to build the house. So where I'm at exactly at this moment while we're recording this, I have a big pile of wood that I just carried up to the backyard a couple days ago, and it's sitting there. And now I got to map out, okay, how are we building this freaking structure on top and completing this thing? So I actually don't even know how we're doing it yet. Kind of have an idea in my head. So that's where we're going. But the point is, when I think about stuff, I want to think about it quickly. Is this worth spending time? Like, you want to make a difference between shiny object syndrome and things you want to do, but then just take action. Point is, I like to just start things. Now, it's not being impulsive. You got to watch from shiny object syndrome also. You want to think it through and commit. And if it's something you want to commit, then just start. Don't be thinking about it, thinking the whole way through. Start taking actions. If you want to get into real estate, start posting in a Facebook group, or driving for dollars, or networking, things like that. Like, just go out there and find the deals. If you find the deal, the rest is going to happen. It'll be easy to find help for that stuff. Now, if you're already doing deals, I look at stuff like this too. It's like, okay, if I want to scale, what am I going to do? It's like, okay, go pick a bunch of marketing channels and test them. So if you're already doing deals and you're looking to scale, start picking more marketing channels and start testing them. Pay-per-lead's a great test that you could do. We actually, at Motivated Leads, that's what we do. We generate leads for real estate investors and only make them pay us for the leads that are off-market sellers. So it's pay-per-lead marketing. This is where I try to fail a lot and do a lot. For example, I just hired 5 ad buyers, like 5 guys to do marketing on Facebook, Google, things like that. I'll hire 5 at a time I know, and I'm going to put like $10,000 test to each one of them. And I know 4 of them are going to fail, but that one that doesn't makes up for all of the losses of the other ones. So I would rather hire these guys, give them some money, test them quickly, and then just get rid of the guys that can't hang and then stick with the one that does, right? Versus having long, drawn out interview processes, things like that. So if you can, think to yourself, is there something that you want to be doing that you've been putting off, or you've just been in your head, keep thinking about how do I do this? How do I do this? Like, what do I do? And haven't taken that first step. Hey, I urge you, just think about whatever that thing is and just see what the first step is and jump in. And hey guys, I appreciate you listening. Thanks for listening. Till next time, get out there, crush it, close some deals.